Today we are learning about importance of operant conditioning in learning. Skinnerian concept of learning. So we have to first know about what is operant conditioning in learning. What is operant conditioning? Operant conditioning is we known as a instrumental conditioning in psychology. So this type of the conditioning always focus on the reinforcement and its consequences on the behavior. So basically two things is there, that is the reward and its consequences on the behavior. There we can see there are many types of the conditioning in psychology, like Pavlov's conditioning process. Other type of process we can also see, and operant conditioning is also a type of conditioning we can see. That is the skinnerian concept, and this type of the concept always focus on the reward and its consequences on the behavior. So what is the conditioning now? Conditioning is a process or a type of method by which we can condition some type of the behavior or the response. What type of the behavior? Behavior is, that is the, we can see or we can say, a desired behavior or the desired learning. Yes, and in the process of the conditioning we always try to condition what type of the behavior or the what type of the responses we want or we desire, and through the conditioning process we just condition this type of the or that type of the behavior or the responses. So in operant conditioning is a type of conditioning. So through the reward or reinforcement, as we know already that operant conditioning, it always focuses on the reward and its consequences on the behavior. So through the operant conditioning, on the basis of the reward or the reinforcement, we will learn certain behavior that we desired to learn. That's the thing in this concept. So now we are talking about importance of operant conditioning in learning. So we know something about the operant conditioning. In this video we already knew that, and after that we will get to know what type of the effect or the concept of operant conditioning on the process of learning. So as we already know, operant conditioning always focuses on the reward or the reinforcement on the behavior. So we can use the operant conditioning on the learning also. As we already know that for the desired behavior we can use the operant conditioning. So as like that we can use that operant conditioning on the learning whenever we are saying, that means in the classroom setting or the classroom behavior. Now, in the Skinnerian concept, we are knowing about the behavior depends on its consequences. Response of the behavior depends on reinforcement, not on stimulus. So, for creating a response or behavior and for repetition of same behavior, we have to give proper reinforcement for desired learning. So, we now see that behavior depends on its consequences. That means what type of the consequence will we have, that measuring our behavior. If the consequence is not so much fruitful for us, it not so much right for us, then the behavior will not happen according to that consequences. If the consequence is right or if the consequences are fruitful for us, then the behavior will go according to that consequences. Because whenever we do something, we always think about the what will be the consequence for this type of the behavior or the response. So whenever we are doing something, we always think about the consequence. So in that way or in that process our behavior will go to that way. So that's the thing. After that, we can know about the behavior modification and reinforcement. Reinforcement we can use in behavior modification. We will choose reward, which is rewarding for the individual, wait for desired behavior, and at the time of correct behavior we will give it immediately. So behavior modification and reinforcement is something like that is saying that reinforcement we can use in behavior modification. So whenever we are giving some reinforcement or the reward, that help us to modify the behavior. What type of the behavior we can modify? The behavior that we don't want to be shaped or don't want to be in our trait. So in that case we are using the reinforcement or the reward process to reduce that undesired behavior and to implement the desired behavior in the person or the individual. Behavior modification and reinforcement continued. Whenever individual will do desired behavior, we will give reward. In this way we can induce desired behavior. So how to modify and how to and when to reinforce? Sorry. Whenever we want to get the desired behavior, we have to think about the reinforcement when we can give that. So when we can give that, now when the desired response come, immediately after we will give the reward to be shaped the behavior, and we will ignore the undesired behavior but by not giving the reinforcement or the reward. Next is reinforcement as a source of motivation. Taken for granted the consequence of behavior as a source of motivation, along with primary reinforcement, secondary reinforcement is also a reinforcement and a source of motivation. Operant conditioning gives us a new approach on reinforcement. So, as the point is saying as reinforcement as a source of motivation. Reinforcement always work as a source of motivation. We always do something on the base of our reinforcement. For example, if our incentive is not there, if there the medal is not there, if the 90% marks is not there, not only 90% marks, the reinforcement is very always on the base of the personality, on the base of the person, on the base of the person's desire, what type of the thing or the information or the anything else, is it actually a reinforcement for me or us? If this is a reinforcement for me or us, that can we say as the yes, this is a reinforcement for my work, or this is the reinforcement that for that we can or I can do anything, or yes, also reinforcement as a source of motivation is also is there. Because of the reinforcement I am doing this or that it is the highest level of motivation for me, we are saying in our regular process or anything. So reinforcement always work as a motivation. Next is schedule of reinforcement. Schedule of reinforcement should be proper. We have to give importance on how many times, when and what reinforcement we have to give. Operant conditioning gives this approach. So schedule of reinforcement is, we have to give importance on how many times we are giving the reinforcement. Schedule of reinforcement is something when and what type of reinforcement we will give, when we will give, how much we will give. This type of the concept schedule of reinforcement is saying about and we are working on this. So whenever we are reinforcing something to other person, we have to properly observe, we have to give our attention to that. Reinforcement should be scheduled in such a way that not being so much overwhelmed or not being so much undergrounding the thing. Punishment suppress the behavior. Punishment should be avoided for behavior Punishment suppresses the undesirable behavior, and when punishment becomes off, behavior occurs in its same frequency and intensity. Alternating punishment, we can do reinforcing desirable behavior. So we have to avoid the punishment because punishment is suppressing the undesired behavior and not so much worthy for the desired behavior to be shaped on. So we have to avoid this. After this point, this also is continuing, and no reinforcement for desired behavior. For learning a behavior, we can also do reinforcing the behavior because punishment can become a threat for individual and make environment threat also. Next is, we have to make learning environment less frustrating and maximum satisfying so we can get the optimal level of response and creativity. So definitely we have to reduce the punishment because punishment creating an environment more frustrating, more anxious, and we are getting more nervous and not so much basically we are losing ourselves and not at that point we are on. So if someone is giving us punishment, then we cannot give our best performance to the others, and basically we cannot give the best performance to us basically. So there is the problem. And whenever we are getting some punishment, or we can say someone is giving us punishment for shaping a desirable behavior, that not so much worthy for us, that not so much working for us, because that become a threat. And after that, if this is the continuing process for learning something, environment become a threat, we become fearful, we become so nervous, less confidence in us, low self-esteem, less worthy, we start to think about us, many problem start to many problem we can see in this case. And punishment always recruit and develop the negativity, and also I just want to say create and help to grow the negativity, and also for that negativity we just cannot get the optimal level of performance in us, and we cannot provide that in such a way also. So we should avoid. After that, learning material should be designed in such a way that provide more success and less failure. This is obviously true because learning material is always different for all the individual, because our learning material is something can be successful a person and also cannot be successful for other person. And learning material, that's why designed in such a way that will be successful for all of us. So the topic or the concept of inclusivity also will be should there in this case. So learning material should be designed in such a way so that cannot manipulate or cannot delete someone, or individual cannot delete someone or the individual because all the individual has that what to say, I just want to say is there right to learn. So we have to provide the content in such a way so that all the people can learn. After that, providing feedback. Learner can provide feedback according to achievements of learning. So not only teacher is providing the feedback whether he is right or wrong, whether she or he is doing well or not, student also will give us feedback whether the learning is helpful for him or her or not, whether the teacher's lectures is helpful or not. That's the thing. Shaping a desired behavior. Operant conditioning we can use for shaping a behavior, that we already know. After that, learning in small steps. Operant conditioning we can use like breaking a task in a small steps and achieving goal in step by step manner. So operant conditioning always tells us about whenever we are learning something, we will first break that task in a small steps, and by achieving the small steps we will learn the whole process of learning or the whole procedure of the learning or the whole task, because breaking the task in a small step by step manner is a helpful process for us to learn in a better way, to memorize that in a better way and rehearse in a better way, and whenever we need that learning to remember, we can remember in a easy way. So we have to do, we can say we have to do, or basically it's also on the base of the personality trait and the human being. Sometimes people learn in a whole, sometimes people learn in a part process, but open conditioning always says that if we are learning something, we should provide the individual the whole task in a break manner. So that's the thing, and thank you for viewing this channel, listening me, and subscribe the channel. Thank you.